Hi, this is Purgold here, and this is my top 10 list for the Gensokyo Railway Series. The Gensokyo Railway Series is sort of a fanfic project that I've been doing for the past couple months, and basically it's what if the Railway Series happened in the Toho universe. So you have, things... Basically, it's Thomas if everybody was Japanese and took place in Toho and, that kind of stuff. So anyway, here's a top 10 of my personal favorites. This may seem really narcissistic because I'm the author of the series and I'm pretty much making a top 10 list because I'm a little puffed up in the smoke box, as the Thomas fans would say, but, whatever. So let's begin the list with number 10, Squatters. Squatters being let me look this up. In Gensokyo Railway Series number 20, Mainline Engines. It is the first story, and basically it's about Marissa and Alice trying to do some lewd things in the coaches and leaving all sorts of evidence behind that they were doing some rather adult things, It's top 10 because it's part of a larger story, and which concludes with the last Gensokyo Railway Series story, Due Date, in number 26, Railway Safety and Emergencies. And moving along the list is number 9, Trucks. So what I do for the Gensokyo Railway Series is that I take either episodes from the TV series or stories from the Railway Series and basically Tohoify them. And this is one of them. And it's in Gensokyo Railway Series number 23, Narrow Gauge Engines. It is the third story, and it features Junya Oda, who is pretty much like Peter Sam, and it's basically Albert, who is brought from the Mid-Sodor Railway, restored, and brought to work on the new narrow gauge railway that's sort of in the north of Gensokyo, which is the place where Toho project takes place, for those not in the know. And basically, he's working... So Albert pretty much plays sick at Hiroto's advice. Hiroto being like Gordon in the Gensokyo Railway Series, universe, basically. And basically, because of that, Junya Oda now has to take a train to the slate quarry that has been recently founded, and an Oni, which is a type of yokai. This particular one had some bad eyesight and didn't see Junya Oda, so basically smashed up the winch with a kanabo, which is like a large metal studded club, pretty much breaking it, sending the slate trucks going down the incline and smashing into Junya Oda, wrecking his funnel, which gets rectified in Gensokyo Railway Series number 25, More About the Narrow Gauge Engines, with the first story, Special Funnel, where he gets the Kawashiro ejector installed, which is basically an improvement upon the Giesel ejector. Number 8 is Stanley Brings It Home, which is same Gensokyo Railway Series installment as Trucks, this time it's being the fourth story. So it's basically about Albert and Stanley trying to bring the winch. It's basically like Bulldog, where Albert's not keeping a good lookout, but Stanley's helping him, and Albert nearly falls down the side of a mountain, and Stanley is just holding back, and some Tengus, which is another type of yokai, bird-like in their appearance, and they're helping, bringing water down to refill Stanley's water tanks, and so he pulls back, and he goes like, "Rah!" And it's heard throughout the entire mountain range, and the workers at the slate quarry like give him 3 cheers, and a round of sake goes around, and you know. And then number 7 is Bad Touch, which is from Gensokyo Railway Series number 26, Railway Safety and Emergencies. So a problem that happens on Japan's railways is that people, and because of the crowdedness, people usually take advantage of that and would basically molest women, and that's one of the reasons why they have female-only cars. So basically, what happens is some women on Hiroto's express going, I forget if he was, I think he was going to the Moria Shrine, and some women were being groped by some men, and they pulled the emergency stop cord, and the guard in Hiroto's crew is like, "What's going on?" And the women spoke up and mentioned what had happened, and they were allowed to ride in the guard's compartment for the time being. So Ichihiro and Hiroto crack a plan which involves putting Raisin Udungi Inaba, one of the Toho project characters, to basically dress really, really provocative and then shoot the molesters, which then turns into a moral about not going to such extremes, and actually ends with Hiroto and Ichihiro being punished by Remilia Scarlet, otherwise known as the Scarlet Controller. And then number 6 is Dirty Objects. Personally, one of my favorite Railway Series / Thomas episodes. So basically, Akemi, the James XB, is being, a bit prideful of his paint, And this is one of the stories where, since in Japan National Railways, in a Japan Government Railways, its predecessor, they never really had a steam tram engine, so I wasn't able to make a Toby XP, so usually Toby's place is usually replaced by a Hiru, the Duck XP, or by any of the other Toho project characters, in this case being Cyrano, asking, "Akemi, why are you purple?" And before you ask, I know most of the engine's colors are different. I went with the anime hair approach, where the color represents the character's personality, except with Hiroto, who's red with white stripes because he pulls the trains between the 2 shrines, which are Shinto. Anyway, Akemi pulls a train, and he's so distracted of what he'll say next that a runaway happens, and he slams into the back of to a tanker full of soy sauce and a tanker full of treacle, which then some witty banter said by some other Toho project characters, specifically Yuriko Sagayuchi, who is known by the fandom to be quite gluttonous, and Yomo Kampaku, who is pretty much Yuriko's servant and gardener. And then up next is number 5, Pop Goes to Zero, which is from Gensokyo Railway Series number 10, Ahiro, the JR Western engine. So to most Thomas fans, they'll know what Pop Goes the Diesel is. But for the Toho fans that are interested in this series, Pop Goes to Zero is basically, so Ahiro is going along, minding his own business, and then this new engine arrives named Zero, the Diesel XP. He's like, he comes in, poses himself as the revolutionary engine, and then Ahiro told Zero to pull some old trucks that have been moved in a while, and he's pulling and trying to get them to move, but instead derails them and breaks a few, only for him to get laughed at by the fairies. By the way, most of the trucks and coaches in the series are not sentient, so they don't really speak, except for Ichihiro's coaches, this one brake van, and if you've been reading the new Gensokyo Railway series, the imported ballasted trucks from Sodor. So anyway, the fairies are laughing. I'm saying, trucks are waiting in the yard, tackling them with ease. I'll show the world what I can do. Gaily boasts the diesel. That, you know, which kicks off the Ahiru / Desiru trilogy, culminating with Dirty Work and ending with A Close Shave. Up next is number 4 with Flandre. So this starts off a whole plot in which is part of a larger subplot involving Yukari Yakumo being involved with several incidents relating to railway accidents. One where she derailed Kenta while he's pulling the flying Nikogigi, which is a lot like the flying Kipper, seeing how he's the Henry XP. Flandre Scarlet, Remilia Scarlet's destructive sister, is let free out of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, and she's wandering around, and she's worried. But Kenta comes across her in the Kappa Valley goods yard, and he pretty much... So basically, I was going for a more twisted version of the Diesel, with Bill and Ben being replaced by Flandre and her spell card, which allows her to split into 3 different beings. So yeah, it ends with Kenta being badly damaged, and he doesn't come back for another good while until hold on. I'm looking this up while I'm making this. I mean, I should have had this prepared as a script, but I didn't have the time. So, oh yeah, Flandre being Gensokyo Railway Series number 4, Railway Incidents, and he doesn't come back till 2 installments later in the 3rd story, Shiro, Hiroto, and Kenta. But you know. And then up next is Yente, with asterisks in the middle of them. So basically, it's this one big MASH homage that I made at the end of the Gensokyo Railway Series number 12, more about Ichihiro the Tank Engine, who is the Thomas XP here. And basically, a mustard gas explosion happens because a careless magician living in the human village makes a mustard gas explosion, and a lot of people are injured, and they all had to be sent to Yente, which is basically a giant hospital in the middle of this giant bamboo forest. And Ichihiro's pulling the trains, and there's a lot of references to MASH here. So basically, it was just MASH as this weird, if it took place in this weird half Railway Series, half Toho thing. Speaking of MASH, there is actually a character from MASH, Henry Blake, who appears in The Ghostly Passenger several installments later in Gensokyo Railway Series number 15, Zanzu's Stories. And here are the honorable mentions. Zun and the Tengu, which is about... So in the Toho universe, the Toho fanon, it is... They used to pair Zun, the creator of the Toho Project games, with Aya Shimamiru, who Zun once bore a resemblance to in his choice of clothing one time, but they kind of stopped because he's married, and that seems pretty odd, so I portrayed it as they had several flings, but, they're not in a relationship anymore, and Aya's pretty bitter about it. Leaving Hachiro, who I tried to make an original character, but ended up becoming... So imagine Donald and Douglas as one character, minus the Scottishness. That's Hachiro. He's both basically a non-Scottish combination of Donald and Douglas. That's what you gotta think of him as. And basically him and Kiyoshi, the Percy XP, basically make fun of him and they get punished. Magic Munitions, So I added Toho versions of Tug's characters, and basically this is the Tug's episode Munitions Tohoified, and it ends with, there's a recurring thing where, luckily, nobody was hurt, doesn't really exist in my series, meaning people die. And in fact, several Kappas and several humans die in this, and it ends with the whole harbor being destroyed. And basically, the installment it takes place in, Gensokyo Railway Series number 19, Zanzu Disaster, pretty much ends with, the whole plot of all 4 stories, Ichihiro and Daichi, Kiyoshi Proves a Point, and Memorial Opening, are all about the harbor being rebuilt and reopened. Ichihiro and the Christmas Tree, which is in number 21, Engines in Winter. So it's basically one of the Thomas Christmas episodes remade, and basically it ends with what TV Tropes calls the MST3K mantra, with Sakura Izuyoi, Romelia Scarlet's head maid, asking, "Why are you celebrating a Christian holiday when Christians hated your kind, vampires, and we're celebrating it in a place where there's no real Christians?" And Romelia's like, "Just sit down and relax. We're doing this for fun. Don't think about it too much, Cool." And then Kimishima. So because of my there's a reoccurring thing where I made Nintendo staff. Since Nintendo goes after fan games a lot, I decided that I'd bite back by making them sort of the antagonists. So I portrayed Nintendo's current CEO, whose last name is Kimishima, and portrayed him as Bulstrode. And basically he's a barge, gets some trucks crashed onto him, and now he's stuck on a beach. And then Steamroller, which involved a Greek steamroller named, I forget, but, basically the same thing as Steamroller, except with Albert and this Greek steamroller. And then the number one in my top 10, personal top 10, is Shrining Time Station from Gensokyo Railway Series number 21, Engines in Winter. It's the last story. So basically, there's the whole plot of this installment is that due to a lot of the Shinto holidays falling in March and winter, the 2 shrines, the Moria and Hakurai shrines, are competing with each other, trying to get the most amount of patronage. All of them slicing down the prices of their tickets. They're doing all sorts of expensive festivals and stuff, and basically it ends with them renting out charter trains where everybody gets to ride for free to their respective shrines. However, because the way it's done, it's not really scheduled very well with the other more routine trains like the expresses. And so basically a Kappa who is acting as the guard of one of these charter trains gets killed when Kenta, pulling the express to the Hakurai shrine, sees Kobal, the Boko XP, his charter train, tries to stop, but he couldn't stop in time and slammed into the rear composite coach, killing the guard. And, it's emotional and stuff. All right, that should conclude my top 10 list. The Gensokyo Railway Series is available to read on fanfiction.net. The new Gensokyo Railway Series, however, is also available on fanfiction.net. As of this recording, 5 installments have been made, and more are on their way. Bye for now.